dictate content, or place restrictions upon our hosts. Our format may be a bit extreme, but we are listener supported, therefore we don't have to impress any sponsors. Thank you for your email. P.S. What is TSL?
Visualize and implement.
I don't know, we got silence, but 10 seconds.
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency
Radio. Real radio.
The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kristan H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
What up, guys? We are live here. It is Monday, October 5th, live here on the Rundown Live, rundownlive.com. Mike Pachesney, Kristan Harris, and we have a guest tonight, Kristan. We haven't been on the air, but we have a guest tonight.
Well, yeah, Popeye's joining us, isn't he? He's been on the show before, and he's a fellow broadcaster and a fellow individual in the search for truth. It's always an exciting time to talk to Popeye. He's very fun, very animated, and if you want, you can usually catch him on Truth Frequency Radio right here on the same channel that we're on. So if you're not familiar with Popeye, you will get familiar with Popeye tonight, that's for sure. So...
Yeah, Popeye's actually a really cool dude. He actually got us on TFR, called in a favor. You know, that's going to be good to talk to him in a few minutes. But before we get to Popeye here, what's been up, man? We've barely been on the air. We've been just like hanging out here.
Well, you know, we needed
some
much
lifetime.
Needed break. Yeah, some real lifetime. I mean, we get really plugged into the Matrix. We talk all the time about people getting plugged into the Matrix and video games and other things. Well, Mike and I are uber plugged into this. We're plugged into the Rundown Live and political happenings, news, searching for the latest news, helping other people, trying to make a living while working, doing all these different things all at once. Not only that, doing, you know, other research and things of that will definitely benefit our listeners and everyone out there. So we've been pretty laid back lately. We've been just trying to relax. We're pretty burnt out. So we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us and really supporting this broadcast. We're human. We're very human.
2 years straight of doing this with little to no budget and, you know, a lot of repetitive news. Like, how many school shootings has there been in the last year? There hasn't even been like 300 days, and there's almost 300 school shootings. It's crazy.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's insane. That. I have a meme graphic that I was going to share later on, but literally there's been sometimes multiple shootings in one day. There hasn't been a school shooting literally every day, but sometimes there'll be like 3 in one day. And, you know, you just don't hear about a lot of them.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those statistics, so I really don't know anything about that. But it doesn't surprise me that they'd be on the rise. I think that they've always been there, just that now it's very well advertised by our media. So they really pump the propaganda out that they want to get the guns.
It reminds me of this guy that predicted that this was going to happen.
Yeah, I wonder who that guy was, Mike.
I mean, he literally predicted this.
Yeah?
I mean, some people know who we're talking about, but for those who don't, Bill Cooper, said that this was going to happen.
Well, right. He said that this kind of thing is going to happen, and he said, "Don't you believe it?" Because they're going to try to blame it on gun owners and the Patriot movement.
But how can you predict? How can you just say, 20 years ago that, oh yeah, there's going to be a bunch of school shootings when things like that happening back then were so rare?
I don't know if they were so rare. They're probably more rare than they are now, but they weren't televised. They didn't advertise them.
People did not go into classrooms with automatic weapons. I mean, it just didn't happen. Well, there were shootings. Remember the clock tower shooting, things like that. Yeah, that was like the worst of the worst. But not in America, man. People weren't doing that. Now they are.
You know what else is different? My father said he used to take his gun to school when he was a kid growing up. He brought it to show and tell. So, I think there's a lot that's changed as far as our culture. They have made things unsafe. I think that you have a lot of video games out there that propagandize things, and with people being on these psychotropic drugs, you always find out that these shooters are always on psychotropic drugs. That's the one common denominator, is that they're on some kind of prescription, and it says right on the pill bottle that may cause suicidal tendencies, and violent behavior might be a side effect, but yet we're supposed to dismiss this and never mention that the pharmaceutical industry is probably heavily reliable since they're over-prescribing people. They're giving people too much medication, and mentally ill people are going out there and they're shooting people up. And then they advertise that this is the gun, this is how you do it, and, gun-free zones, that's the best place to go. So now kids are just following the pattern because everyone out there is mentally ill and on some kind of psychotropic drug. And I think I wrote an article a year ago that majority of the people prescribed things like antidepressants and Adderall don't need them. They just come in and they think that there's something wrong with them, and since they think that there's something wrong with them, they have a mental disorder.
You mean like Drano Lady?
Yeah, like Drano Lady.
We talked about her on Saturday on Hanger on Truth Frequency, which is a good time. Yeah, maybe we'll talk a little bit about that when we bring Popeye on. But in a sense, people, making up their disabilities when they're perfectly healthy for the most part, and they want to be more disabled, right? And I didn't want to brush off the whole media thing because you touched on an interesting point there when we were talking about the school shootings and how they're basically shown 24 hours a day after the incident, so everybody knows exactly what they want them to know. It wasn't the same 20 years ago. It wasn't the same 30 years ago. If there was some kind of event, you had to wait till the news was on 5, 10 o'clock, whatever, 7 a.m., and that would be your news break. Now you have 24-hour news. It's literally by the minute. It's by the second, actually. It's crazy the amount of news that is non-news that's reported on these networks, but it's in your face. So it's convenient that they only show you what they want you to know or what they want to show you.
Well, that's just it. And you'll have some mentally ill person imitate things. We mentioned it before, serial killers, gang violence. All these kind of things aren't really publicized because you'll get a copycat out there who's mentally ill and will attempt these things. Whether it's taking a barrel over Niagara Falls. If they reported somebody did that, I guarantee you somebody would get in a barrel and do it again. Try to make the news.
Just look at trends on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, people are so
zombified.
They're just gullible. They'll do anything that they see other monkeys doing. To be like, oh, look what he did. I'm trying that. We're all the same in that sense where there's things that we mimic. But I mean, come on, guys. Let's have some brains.
Well,
brains.
I don't understand why somebody would want to be blind like this Transabled lady. I mean, you're hearing that Canada's trying to push this on taxpayers to pay for this. So if you want to be disabled and you feel like you should have been born disabled, you can go get a limb cut off and then you can sit on a taxpayer's dollar for the rest of your life because you can't work and all this other stuff. So I don't know. It's pretty bizarre.
How do you feel, Kristan? How do you feel?
I think that lady felt mentally ill.
I feel rich. So should I get money? Maybe I should get money from the government because I feel rich, Kristan. And I'm not. I'm really poor.
We're trans financial.
Yeah, dude. Oh,
nice.
My goodness.
We're trans financial.
This is
Somebody give us millions of dollars because we feel like
I'm
we're
knocking
rich.
stuff over. This is such a great idea.
Greatest idea ever, Mike. Trans financial.
I mean, how could they not give us money? Because I feel like they should.
And it's an illness. It's an illness, and it can only be cured by them giving us more money.
It does. I mean, this is brilliance. This is just happening. It's happening right now.
This is an aha moment that we have maybe once every 100 episodes, but you guys out there got to witness it.
It's one of those things. We need to come up with a hashtag and put this on Twitter. Free money.
Financial. Yeah. Get your free money because you feel like you were born rich.
Do you feel poor? Are you actually poor?
Are you
Do
sure
you want money from someone else that has it?
Yeah, because if you feel trans financial and you think that you should be rich because you were born, you felt like rich and that you should have been in a rich home, well, you know what? You need that money to cure that illness because you can't get by it. You know?
Let's think about all the people that worship these celebrities.
That psychologist that got the Drano lady. Maybe we can get him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe he'll give us money.
Yeah, maybe. Perfect. There you go.
There we go. There we go. All our problems will be solved. Just look at the Kardashians. They have money and they're perfect. They're the smartest, most perfect people that exist.
Well, doesn't she have a lot of money in part because she got knocked up by somebody famous? Was it a Kanye or somebody? I don't know.
I think her family had money prior to Kanye.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did too.
But they had to form a power couple in the celebritarian world.
That's not celebritarian.
You know what I meant.
We're so used to using that word.
It's not the celebritarian world. It's the celebrity world. But it's funny that I said celebritarian.
Awesome. But we should mention real quick, guys, before we bring Popeye on, check out therundownlive.com. We have an app now, guys. Go to your cell phone or tablet and get it. It's free. Mike and I put it out there for you, and we update it daily. You can get all our past episodes. We put a lot of really cool stuff on there. Sometimes we have audio books that are remastered and, cool informational videos and even interviews that Mike and I do on other programs. So do get it. It's awesome. It's free. Available Google Play, Android App Store, iTunes App Store, Windows Play, and Amazon.com, Spreaker, Stitcher. We're on just about every platform, but do get the app. You can email us from the app. You can access our Facebook, and you can also check out Twitter and everything else like that. All those other cool, nifty.
It's good to see the Twitter growing. By the way, it's good to see that we didn't spend a lot of time focusing on Twitter, but it's something that we should probably do more.
Yeah, we weren't tweeting a whole lot.
We gotta start making hashtags viral. We gotta start participating in the Twitterverse because we're missing half the social media audience not really paying too much attention to Twitter.
Well, yeah, there's all these other new things like Flipboard and obviously Reddit.
Locker Dome. Mike, that's one of those sites.
We need to grow 2 new arms. We need 4 arms, Mike, so we can do all this work.
Well, in the transhumanist future, we can just order new arms, or
we can get a really hot wife robot and just have her do it all for us.
Now that's an idea. I like that idea. The 4 arms wasn't working for me.
Well, like
when you bring up the sex robot, now that's working for me.
Yeah, I think that might be more likely. That might be the way we want to go. But anyways, also, guys, check out Truth Frequency Radio. They make this program possible in your local area. If you're hearing us on the radio in Denver, 90.7 FM, Oregon, or one of the other many local broadcasts out there, thank you for supporting us. Support Truth Frequency Radio. Go to therundownlive.com and sign up for a membership for Truth Frequency Radio. That helps support them and help keep this broadcast going. You can support us as well by checking out cool banners like private internet access. If you want to surf the internet anonymously, this is a software that allows you to do it. It's affordable, covers 5 computers. Check it out. Not a bad deal. Also, great guy tonight, Popeye, Truth Frequency Radio. He joins us from Truth Frequency Radio tonight. Many other great broadcasters on there. Check them out. Listen to Truth Frequency on TuneIn Radio. Just search The Rundown Live. You'll get Mike and I and all the other broadcasters, and you can follow Truth Frequency. That's the best way to catch us live, minus the chat room. That's right, guys. You guys can chat with Mike and I. therundownlive.com/live. And I want to say thank you to everyone that makes the show possible. Truth Frequency Radio, FPRN Radio, Wide Awake America. Find us on YouTube. Share our YouTube videos on your social media networks. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and Twitter, like I think we've mentioned twice now.
Yeah, we need to just keep mentioning it. It's okay. We'll get
us on Facebook.
We'll get it across to the people. We have
Macho
to do
Man
that.
Randy
We have
Savage.
to. We have to operate like the mainstream media and repeat the same story 4 times in 7 minutes. Otherwise, people just won't get it.
That's how you bang it into their head, I guess.
What
So-
is it like? The entire 30-minute news broadcast is really 7 minutes of news or something like that.
Yeah, and it's basically reiterating the same points over and over to push an
The
existing.
same 2 stories.
Yeah. Right, and then they'll show previews of those 2 stories so everyone knows what they're going to talk about and setting the expectation that you're going to listen to a story about, the Milwaukee Lion, which never really existed.
Yeah,
No one ever-
apparently it never really existed. But speaking of the Milwaukee Lion, we have the Lionheart himself, Popeye, joining
What?
us.
Hello, gentlemen.
The Lionheart.
What the hell is that?
I don't know. For some reason, Lionheart. We were talking about the Milwaukee Lion, how it never existed because no one ever.
Should I come in with like blue, like half my face painted blue, like nothing?
Like Braveheart? Yeah, there you go.
What is the Lionheart anyway? I don't even remember what that is. That like a kind of tire?
Richard the Lionhearted, I think.
Yeah, there you go. It was Richard the Lionheart. I saw that in Black Adder. With
Yes, and if I remember correctly, that goes back to the days of Robin Hood.
Oh, okay. See,
Robin of the Hood.
it was coming somewhere out of there. I could think of the tires. After that, I was stumped.
Wow, Mikey.
Oh yeah. But no, it's a pleasure to have you as always, man. You're one of our faves. We gotta have faves, and we only have a few left, man.
Yeah, we only have a few transabled friends we can bring on the show, so we thought we'd bring you on. So
Yeah, I purposely did this to myself. I joined the United States military, so.
Well, hey, I mean, we talked about this lady on Saturday on Hanger. I mean, what could possibly drive someone not only to want to do this? I mean, people are gonna say, "Oh, she's mentally ill," but then to have like professionals allow her to do something like this, this shows the culture.
I think a lot of it is, I guess you could label mental illness, but the media is largely responsible for these things. You guys are also talking about the shooting. It's the same thing. Everybody's like, "We need to ban guns. This wouldn't have happened." Oh, so his hate of Christians, right, and like shooting them in the head first, and then shooting any other religious person in just the legs, right? Just injuring them, perhaps maiming them, and if they hit them in an artery in the leg, they would have bled out and could have died. But that gets ignored, right? The fact that he said in his manifesto, supposedly, that nowadays all you got to do is kill somebody to be famous, pretty much. And I'm paraphrasing just a little bit, but he said all you got to do is shed some blood. And he mentions that newscaster dude that got pissed off and supposedly shot the 2 people on the news, on live TV. Now, there's questions about that, but if you put that aside for just a second, even whether or not you don't believe in it or not, the media highlighting things like this constantly, showing it on television, they didn't do that back in the day. That has an effect. You get like copycat things. People get ideas from that. And some of them may be fake and complete like false flag type events, but others are not that. Others are actually real events, and they happen because people see this on TV and it gets glorified, and you get someone that's pissed off out there and they want to make a name for themselves. That happens. When the FBI investigates murders, right? When they investigate serial killers, what they normally do is they leave a part of what they find and what they give to the media out on purpose, because they know they're going to get people that are calling in that are admitting to the crime that didn't do it. And they know that they're inevitably, if it gets a lot of publicity, going to experience copycat killings, which actually happens often, or at least more often than one would think when you actually start to do the research. So they know, it's very well known, what happens if you publicize this stuff and if you give it this glorified media attention. And you see more and more kids now getting pissed off, and whether or not you think it's a real event, or whether or not you think it's staged, and a lot of these things do have a lot. I'm not saying they're not, or I'm not taking one stance or the other because I haven't looked that deep into it. The one with the newscasters kind of looks shady, and I do find it kind of coincidental that this thing happens to go down on a Thursday, right after Putin starts bombing the crap out of ISIS over in Syria and pretty much wiping them off the map. and it's all over the place, making Obama look like a putz, and pretty much exposing that they've been funding this whole debacle. And then John McCain openly calling for us to arm he said we should arm them, ISIS, with, I mean, he says the Syrian rebels, but like that's ISIS. So he wants us to arm them like we did the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, so they can shoot Russian planes out of the sky. Really, John? Really? So while all that's going on, that shooting happened. So anyway, aside from all that weirdness, yeah, the media is largely responsible for this. And so is the government, because they're constantly, they politicize the hell out of it. Even the family members are like, can you guys like not politicize this? One of them, somebody that was there that survived it, posted on their Facebook, apparently went viral, that like, to the president not to stop blaming the Americans for not passing gun laws. Can you not politicize this event right now? What we need is prayers and love, which it's fair, right? Everybody should stop jumping on that bandwagon and politicizing it. And I think the country is waking up largely in part to the fact that these things keep happening in gun-free zones. Unfortunately, they keep focusing on the mental health aspect of things. And I see that as a slippery slope. Pretty soon, you're not going to be able to use your car to go to the 7-Eleven without having a mental health check. You know what I mean?
So we've got to be re-educated. That's where that leads.
Exactly. So like there's a lot of people that are pro-gun. They're like, well, more strong mental health laws, and I'm like, you guys aren't looking at like the biggest problem in the room, that the media is they are fully well aware of what they can do. That's why Cooper wrote about that in Behold the Pale Horse. All right. He wrote about that because he understood what they knew already. And going back to even like the Stanford prison experiment, the Milgram experiments and all that, they understand the human psyche. They understand how we react to certain stimuli and things, and how far, as humans will go, and what we'll do to each other, and what we'll allow to be done to ourselves. They're not dumb. They already know all of this, so they know how to manipulate us. And they do it on a daily basis. You see it in the media, and I mean like TV shows, radio, like the faux talk radio BS, like Rush Limbaugh and Hannity and all them.
Well, most of it's Mockingbird, PSYOP. I mean, it's
exactly.
we're all
controlled
being directed.
Information.
Even when you think it's legitimate, like something like Occupy Wall Street, any of these controlled opposition movements that may even have real roots, it's all co-opted. As soon as you see the news media talking about it on major networks, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, these kind of networks, there's some kind of shenanigans going on there.
Agreed. You already know that it's complete BS. Without questioning it, you already know. If once they're already because they're trying to twist the narrative. Now they're trying to formulate the net, because they understand that even with the alternative media and with people constantly saying that the dinosaur media is dying, I don't know if they're dying more so as they're mutating or
clutching to life.
Well, they're adapting like some organisms do. Some organisms die off, and others adapt to change. And some of these bigger ones that have lots of money and they're headed by people that are very smart, they're paying attention to what we're doing. They kind of manipulate the alternative media in a certain way, I do believe, because they realize that the alternative media reacts to what the mainstream puts out. So you can actually see how they'll focus on certain things, and there'll be other things going on in the background. But if the if the mainstream is focusing on certain things and making it a big deal, a lot, not all of, but a lot of the alternative media will focus on that. And it's almost like I've watched it over the past couple of years, and the powers that shouldn't be, they're learning how we do things. So we need to be ever vigilant and learn and be on top of that and learn how to stay 3 steps to 5 steps at least.
Stay out of the mini Mockingbird, really. Right? It's like they realized that it was going to be some kind of threat, so, why not plant the false info, disinfo, anything they can to get people off the trail of the truth. And, you brought up some interesting things there. With the Bill Cooper thing, how could he have known? I mean, people, Kristan, you're always talking about his Masonic knowledge. I mean, he did a lot of research into the New World Order, who was actually pulling the strings. How could he have been one of the few people?
Yeah, he was Navy intelligence. Not only that, when you're really well educated, you can locate trends in history, and you can see the way the future is going, and you can just map out exactly what happened once before and apply it to what's happening in the future. Once you understand the trends in history, it's bound to repeat itself if you don't learn from it. And obviously, no one's really learned from our history. So
Dude, Cooper was a smart man. And like, I don't agree. A lot of people always say, well, what about this? What about that? What do you think he would have said now? Well, he's been dead since 2001. So it's kind of hard to attribute anything, what he would say about anything. I wish Bill were alive because I would love to pick his brain on it. I would have had him on my show like 100 times already just to pick his brain. And I might have debated him even on a few things. Him and I might not have agreed.
Well, having him being around post 9/11 would have been crazy to have that other opinion out there.
Well, especially now. We only had him for a month or like a month and a half.
6 months, I think, wasn't it?
No, they killed him in November.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Like November 4th, I think it was, or 5th, if I remember correctly. Somewhere around there, they killed him. So it was like not even 2 months after September 11th, just shy of 2 months, and they killed him. So, and he was already saying it was an inside job. He said it before that. He was the first person that caught out. I know the Texan likes to take credit for that, but let's be honest, the first person that said it was
Bill Cooper. Yeah.
And he said, "You watch, they're going to attack something. They're going to attack something, and then they're going to blame Osama bin Laden." I mean, he actually named him on his radio show. He said it, and he said, "Don't you believe it?"
Right.
Like, what you do is go back and listen to the show. I think it was from June or July of that year, if I remember correctly.
I actually wrote an article and I put it out and I had that video linked to it. I think it was Bill Cooper predicts 9/11 dies shortly after.
My favorite line is when he's like, "So the best intelligence military operation in the world can't find this guy." And some douchebag jerk-off reporter from CNN just waltzes into his cave. And I pretty much think that's verbatim, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's pretty verbatim. And he said that you had the NSA, the CIA, unlimited resources, millions and millions of dollars, and either they're not looking for them or he's serving them well with his purposes. And he said it's most likely they're not looking for them. And obviously you have a CNN reporter that went in there with a fraction of the budget and they found him, or the CIA was the ones who told him where he was. So, yeah, very interesting how he knew all this stuff and he had all this intelligence and he really was able to mold, the shape and warn a lot of people
to
that this is
predict
what's
bin
happening.
Laden,
That's incredible.
That's incredible. And then not only that, but these school shootings are in there. He talked about this. This isn't like, some after the fact thing where people are like, yeah, there could have. No, he talked about it. This was something that was going to happen. And then all of a sudden now, almost every day of the year, we have a school shooting. Now, that, like Popeye was saying, that doesn't mean they're all hoaxes, but there's definitely some kind of influence going on.
Well, again, all you got to do is realize that the public emulates what they see in the media. I mean, come on, kids emulate what they see on TV. Look how they dress. Look how they act. Look how they talk.
What they listen to, right, everything.
Exactly. So don't you think that the same effect is going to happen if they're exposed time after time after time to school shootings and the like, and violence on TV? I mean, we've desensitized our children. Think about it. I'm not bashing video games and everything and blaming that.
You're bashing video games.
No, everything adds up. Force multipliers.
We'll be back. 3 minutes. I don't know if we're still on, but we'll be back.
Truth Frequency Radio.
I couldn't
your
hear the
number
bumper
one
music
source for
there.
news and
Yeah,
information
faded in and out.
without the hate, hype, and fear. We are proud to
Anything you want to
bring
get
you
into this
cutting-edge
thing now,
programs
Popeye?
like the Liam Chef Show. The Rundown
Wow, that thing is loud. Yeah, whatever. Oh, there you go. Whatever you guys want to get into.
Did you hear the Rage Against the Machine? I think bassist said that he doesn't believe ISIS exists.
Nice. No, I didn't see that, but there you go.
It's pretty interesting.
There you go.
I thought it was interesting that...
ISIS is a real group, but, they're controlled. And, now the Russians are beating the shit out of them, so...
America's pissed, too, that they are, isn't it?
That's their militia force.
How fucking bad could it have been? Like, this whole war on... Russia just exposed the whole war on terror, because they went in there in, 72 hours and, mopped the floor with half of ISIS. And, dude, if you watch their bombing videos compared to our bombing videos, our shit's pathetic. We send in, one missile, and it's you see a little truck, and it's psh, and they're like, look, we're fighting ISIS. The Russians, you see a whole base, And then you just see a series of huge, massive fucking explosions and then nothing. And you're like, holy shit. Dude, fucking Vlad ain't fucking around, dude. They went in there and they're like, yeah, you're all gonna just fucking die.
Well, that's what happens. You know, we funded them, we created them, and now the government's upset that Russia's destroying them and making it look so simple. We haven't been able to kill Al Qaeda or ISIS for what? You know, going on 14 years now, and then Russia goes in 72 hours.
We can get into this on air.
Yeah.
And it's
ties
in
in with the Cooper
quotations.
stuff.
We haven't been able to kill them in quotations.
The other thing I'd like to mention, boys, I don't know if you guys saw my post on Facebook today.
About the 1 year?
Yeah, about
I saw it.
Feeding the homeless and shit. I'd like to bring that up and just throw that out there, especially since you guys are heard in a huge major U.S. city. I'm sure there's a lot of homeless downtown. Probably cold outside.
Not yet. We got global warming.
Oh, don't.
It will be soon enough. All right, I'm gonna hang the call up and I'm gonna call you guys both back.
Go ahead, I'll mute up.
Built on pride and false power, breaking free from the programs and paradigms that hold us down takes courage, endurance, tenacity, and trust. The reason it is so hard is because to be a free and sovereign being, we have to smash every lie, even if it hurts. It is good to be reminded of how resilient, unbreakable, magnificent, and powerful we truly are. And if anything provides a foundation for that, it is the book, Our Universal Journey. Go to ouruniversaljourney.com.au.
The Kev Baker Show with Kev and the crew. Monday through Thursday on Truth Frequency Radio.
The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com. Mike P. Kriston H. The Rundown, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Check out therundownlive.com.
The rundown.
Truth Frequency Radio, rundownlive.com is the website, and we're hanging out here with our friend Popeye of federaljack.com. That's where you guys can hear his broadcast and see his archives and stuff. But we were getting into some interesting convo there, talking a little bit about the school shootings, Transabled, and before the break, we were getting into the Syrian conflict, which has obviously been ratcheted up now because of Russia's involvement. And during the break, we were kind of talking, Popeye, you were saying, look at what Russia was able to do, and they kind of smeared a little mud on the United States' face by saying, look it, I'm exposing your fake war and all the military-industrial complex. We're kind of going to show people this is how you get rid of terrorism, and then they go in and get rid of these groups.
Dude, Russia totally, in like 72 hours, undermined the entire argument for the war on terrorism. Literally. Because they went in there and like kicked the living crap out of half, like, I think they were publicly saying that, you know, they went in there and they're saying half, even if it was like a third of what was there, right? They just started wiping things out. I mean, systematically striking things to the point where the U.S. is like, oh my God, they're hitting civilian targets. And it's like, wait, what? Those in glass houses? Shh. What's that? Those in glass houses that drive bulldozers? Actually, it's those who drive bulldozers through glass houses shouldn't throw stones because, you know, these people, you know, the United States saying, oh my God, Russia's killing civilians. And then 3 days later, they drop a bomb on a hospital filled with Doctors Without Borders. I couldn't write this if I tried. Like if I wanted to write, irony, if I wanted to write a story and I wanted to have an ironic twist to it, I couldn't have written that any better. Who's the U.S. to call anybody out? Second of all, Russia wasn't hitting civilian targets. They were wiping out ISIS. John McCain's friends, who then John McCain, as I said earlier, was like, hey, we should arm them and give them missiles to shoot the Russians down. What? How is this guy still in the... what is he, senator, right? Yeah, how is he still a senator?
I don't know, he's old and senile, so I have no idea. I don't think he's getting reelected.
He's got good friends in the lobby industry.
Dude, he's a war criminal. The guy's horrible. I mean, who... And there are people that would go, we ought to do that. Even Hillary Clinton admitted that arming the Mujahideen against the Russians is what led to Al-Qaeda. So we should arm them again? But we're fighting them in the war on... So what's the point of the war on terror?
We need to lose our freedoms. That's what, Popeye. They need to take them all. It's all fake. They really pointed out how fake this whole war on terror is. Because, like you mentioned, they went there within 72 hours and really cleaned up, a big part of ISIS. And here, we've been struggling to do anything against them as they grow more and more. And they
allegedly,
they're coming across the borders and they got camps in 20-some states and all this other bizarre propaganda. So you really have to ask, how far up does this propaganda go if they really aren't this legitimate threat like we've thought them to be, or at least the media has made them to be,
Well, the media can make out who the boogeyman is, for one. Second of all, any of those guys that are fighting, they seem to have, like, American gear. And I love how they're like, well, they stole it from the Iraqis. What about all the stuff that the Army and the Air Force is accidentally airdropping in there?
Like Jeeps and
Toyota
Fords,
Tundras.
Toyota Tundras, yeah.
And say Jake's Plumbing on it.
Where do they get all these Toyotas from? Oh, Saudi Arabia. Oh, that's right. Why do you got to kind of wonder why behind the scenes all these other Middle Eastern countries are screwing Saudi Arabia with the output of oil and keeping the price of gas so low, and because it's actually having, if you look behind the scenes, it's having a large economic effect on Saudi Arabia. Kind of makes you wonder if they're being punished for all the dirty shit that they do behind the scenes. Like the other Middle Eastern countries are tired of it, and they're like, we're tired of you being the West's proxy putzes and funding this crap. Now you're killing our own people and destroying cultural heritage. This is enough. If they're actually blowing any of that stuff up, because remember, those statue destroying videos were completely fake. So, all they got to do is get a Hollywood director to do things, or somebody that knows what they're doing, and bam.
Well, what about all the rumors about some of the beheading videos? There's even rumors that those are fake.
Well, dude, the one on the beach where the guys were like 17 feet tall. It looked like they had the next NBA draft pick lineup, like the next 15 on the lineup.
They had a bunch of Yao Mings out there.
Dude, seriously, these guys were like 7 feet tall. Kev and I were calling them the Anunnaki division of ISIS.
That's some good special forces right there. I wonder if they could fly.
Bro, it was ridiculous. You looked at the video, and then they were saying it was, I think they were saying it was Syria, right? And it ended up being somewhere in like Libya, or wherever it was, or a beach, wherever the hell it was. But it was totally staged. And people say, well, how can you stage that? Hello? Hollywood effects, especially if the CIA is involved. Now, some of these beheadings, I know, like the single ones, some of them I don't doubt. Some of them could be very real. So they could also.
It's definitely going on. I mean, that stuff's going on.
I know beheadings do happen, but I think the with the help of technology, they can make it look scarier and worse and more of a problem than it's going on. All they have to do is put out there into the world that there's this boogeyman, and people will believe it. It's like throwing a fishing hook out there, and people are going to bite. There are people that are, really do believe. I know people that are like, that are kind of awake, but they're like, man, we got to go kick ISIS's ass. And I'm like, wait, what?
I hate that. I hate hearing that.
What? Like, if you want to go kick ISIS's ass, we should go arrest everybody in Congress, the Senate,
pretty much,
and everybody in the White House, and then there's a start.
You're not very awake if you're talking about bombing anyone that hasn't assaulted us.
Well, I mean, and then the idea that they're going to come over here, people are like, well, they could come over here and attack us. So
preemptive strike, Popeye.
Okay, if they did attack us, what would they attack? A mall and kill a couple hundred people?
They'll bring their swords.
But as horrible as that sounds, and as horrible as that is, any loss of life is horrible. But the idea of like some sort of terrorist invasion is ludicrous. That it's just not going to happen. It's not feasible
unless you have a bunch of refugees come into your country.
Well, no, you could have terrorists coming in and doing actions, but I mean, I'm talking about like 100,000, ISIS forces coming over with
With
their
body armor and helmets
Yeah.
and stuff.
And they're
right.
like storming the beaches at Normandy, but ISIS storming the beaches. It's not going to happen. Okay, and people need to realize that. But that fear of that kind of whoa is so pumped into everybody that like, oh my God, terrorists are right around the corner. So that's all they really need is the fear. They don't actually need, and then once in a while they can do a little event here or there and kill some people and blame it on quote unquote ISIS. And I mean, they could blame anything on ISIS. How do you know it even something could happen? It could be a real event, and they could amp it up in the media and be like, "Oh my God, this is connected to ISIS, homegrown ISIS," blah, blah, blah. And it might not even be attached to it. But all they need to do is have the media portray that in the beginning. Remember, the truth might come out later on down the road in a court proceeding, which this has happened before, where they'll pump something up, and then later on it turns out that that's not what happened, and like in court things get charges get dropped or whatever, but the media doesn't pick that up. The only thing that they pick up is the beginning part, and they twist it to amp fear, because that's what it's used for until it runs its course, and then the next thing, fear.
Well, this ties into 9/11 as well. What do you think the result of the 9/11 Commission report will be once it's released, the 28 redacted pages? Do you think that will have a big aha moment for people, or do you think that's going to be a big question mark and conspiracy as well, that people aren't going to believe what's in it is true?
If they release it and it points to the Saudis, what is it? Well, it's good, but a lot of people that will then blame Saudi Arabia, and then our government can be like, "Oh my God, the evil Saudis," and it's like, "Oh wait, hold on, wait, hold on." That's like blaming the pinky finger when the whole hand's involved. Okay, seriously.
I don't think it's going to matter. The 28 pages, obviously the American people should be able to see them, but it's not going to change anything.
No, honestly, there are more people waking up, and a lot quicker than with like JFK, and that's thanks to the internet and a lot of activists out there, and radio shows and stuff and bloggers. But I still think there's a large amount of people that they have to like grow up themselves before they'll be able to accept it. I think once they grow up themselves and come to some level of enlightenment in themselves, things like that will be easier to accept.
They have to put themselves in a conundrum.
Well, everybody has an awakening period. I know people that never would have believed 9/11, other than the official story, but then something like the economy wakes them up. And then they're like, okay, well, if I was lied to about this, and then they go back with a fresh set of eyes and they look at it, and then they're like, oh my God. I got my 73-year-old dad to wake up, and it wasn't even... he wouldn't believe me about 9/11, and I said, well, if I show you the evidence about Oklahoma City, would you believe me? And he was like, what? And I made him watch A Noble Lie, because Holland, Van de Nieuwenhof, and James Lane were coming on my show in 3 or 4 days, and they had sent me a screener copy of it. And they had sent me a copy of it, and they were like, here, watch this, So I was like, Dad, well, I saw this, watch this. This will blow your mind. And he watched, and I even talked about this on the show with him. He watched it, and he was like, "Man, I'm still not sure." And I had sent him all this evidence, and he had listened to my shows about it, and it was like an ongoing thing for a few years. He watched that documentary, and when it was done, I walked back out my living room. I said, "So, what do you think, Dad?" Because I put it on, and I walked out. I let him watch it without me in the room, so I wasn't like, "You see." I didn't want to interrupt it, so I walked away, and he watched it, and I hear, the credits playing, and I go out, and I asked him, I said, what do you think, Dad? And he goes, well, I was on the fence, but now I'm really convinced that they did not only Oklahoma City, but 9/11. Or at the very least, let it happen. And I was like, well, there you go. Huge step. Really. That was a huge step. So everybody's doorway into waking up to things like that is different. I don't think, just jamming 9/11 into someone's face, that might be too much for somebody to take. Having, oh my God, the government would actually do that. That's a lot for somebody to take. Like my dad said to me, he actually helped me. Shout out to my dad. He actually helped me largely in part years ago change the way I spoke to people about this, because I monitored how he reacted to the things I said. And he said to me one of the most in-depth things I could ever remember him telling me about all of this. He said to me, and it helped me understand a lot of other people's mindsets. He said, if I'm to believe what you're telling me, and my dad's in his early 70s, he said, that means everything I've experienced in my whole life, most of it was predicated on lies. Because my dad proudly served in the United States Navy. He was injured in a plane crash, and he's a disabled vet because of it. But he's a proud disabled vet. He really is. And it really blew his mind when he woke up and he said to me, you have no idea how earth-shattering that is for someone like me. And to be honest with you, I hadn't looked at it from that standpoint until he said that very profound statement to me. And I was like, wow, that's how come a lot of people, not just the older generation, but a lot of people have that same level of thinking. So I try not to be mad when people don't accept it. And I don't like to call them sheeple or make fun of people and label people anything, because that's not going to get anywhere with helping them. I'd rather figure out a way to show them to their door. That's all. Whatever it may be. Whatever the topic may be. Here's the doorway. Walk through it. What did Morpheus say to Neo? And I'm going to paraphrase here. He said, I can only show you the door. You have to be the one that walks through it. And it's the same thing. You have to be the one that partakes in that knowledge. I can show you, hey, check this out. This may interest you. Like, if it's not 9/11, I know people that, what else got my dad was, as a Navy vet, the USS Liberty. I told him about what happened in the Liberty, and he was like, I've never heard of that ship. And I was like, well, here, check this out. And and then he heard my shows, because I've interviewed the survivors, and he heard my radio shows with them. And my father's jaw was on the floor. He was just beside himself. So it's things like that. There's different ways to do it. I know I kind of went off on a tangent.
Well, what is the USS Liberty? Now, I'm kind of curious now. I'd never heard of that conspiracy or that.
You don't know what the USS Liberty is, Kriston?
No, honestly.
In June of 1967, Israel attacked the USS Liberty off the coast of Egypt. And they were a spy ship pretty much working for the NSA. And they attacked the ship for about 2.5, 3 hours. Even after the U.S. had been alerted and were talking to Israel, and Israel was like, oh, it was a mistaken attack. We stopped. They were still attacking the ship. They strafed the ship with rocket fire. They dropped napalm on the ship. They shot it up with machine guns. They had ships come in and shoot the life rafts that were being deployed, which is a war crime. And they had helicopter gunships, and the only reason why they weren't able to finish the Liberty off and sink it, well, besides a miracle from whoever you want to believe in, and a testament to Captain William McGonigal and the crew of the USS Liberty. And I could put you in touch with some of the survivors if you guys wanted to interview them. And I promise the stories will have your listeners in tears. The people that have listened to, when they listen to the shows I've done, like with Richard Larry Weaver, he had everybody. I mean, Joe was like tearing up listening to it. I know special ops guys, Joe does, that get teary-eyed when they hear that show. I mean, it's bad. The guy was on fire and he put himself out with his own blood. And he talks about it. Like, it's horrific what happened to that ship. I'm not kidding. They were flying a huge U.S. flag, so it wasn't like, oops, we didn't realize who they were. The whole crew has said from the day one that it was done on purpose. When you listen to how it was covered up, it's horrible. And to this day, you don't hear about it. I mean, I'm surprised you guys have never heard about it. Just look up if you want to really learn a ton about it, just go over to Federal Jack and type in USS Liberty in the search engine, and it should bring up a bunch of articles and videos and the shows I've done about it. And all the shows I've done with the survivors are in the archives over there, PopeyeRadio.com.
It's
that's real life.
A few times that Israel is on the record actually attacking America in its existence. And, that's interesting because I've heard rumors, though, that they weren't flying a flag, so they were like, oh, we don't know who... come on, really?
They were flying a flag, and there's... I forget his name, but an Israeli fighter pilot, one of the pilots came out later on, probably I think like 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago now, and said that they had radioed in and said, "Look, it's clearly got an American flag."
It was confirmed American, right?
Yes, they knew. And the only thing that stopped the gunships from attacking it was there was a Russian ship that came over the horizon and they could see what was going on. See, the Israelis were going to sink the ship and then blame the Egyptians. We actually launched fighter planes, and they were coming to aid the ship, and they were called back. And then while they were out, they had nukes too. They almost nuked Egypt.
Well, guess what? Lyndon B. Johnson. What else was he known for?
Well, yeah. Well, Johnson
JFK?
said, "I don't care what happens. I pretty much like he wanted that ship to go to the bottom. He didn't care. That ship survived with no air cover, nothing. It survived on a wing and a prayer. They were left to die. They didn't receive help till the next day. The Navy ships that pulled up to them, the guys were crying when they saw how bad that ship was and the damage and the destruction and the death. There were people that were just blown apart and chunks of them all over the deck. There's pictures. Go on Google and look up USS Liberty and just hit enter and look in the image section.
It's definitely an interesting story. I don't mean to change the topic because it is a very interesting story, but we don't have much time left. And I know that you're working on something special that you wanted to kind of let people. I know you made a post on Facebook letting people know what you're going to be up to and what you want other people to get involved in as well, which I thought was a great idea after I read your post. And this isn't something that you need to film or blog about. This is something you should do as a human being, but I'll go ahead and let you explain it, Popeye.
Well, what I was trying to encourage people to do, as you know, October is kind of a weird month for me, and a year, in 2 weeks, it'll be a year since Merce, my late wife, passed away. And rather than be very sad and sorrowful and somber and be upset about the whole situation, I would rather use her memory and the way she lived her life and how I think she would have wanted me to handle this situation and use it as an example to inspire others. So what I want to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to feed homeless people. I'm going to make sandwiches. I was going to go to a deli, but I figure it would actually be cheaper and more cost efficient, and I could actually pick what's in them. I'll know what's in it. So I'm going to go out and get enough cases of water to give out probably between 20 and 30 sandwiches. I have to figure it out. But I'm going to make all the sandwiches. And I'm going to do turkey and cheese. It's pretty basic, simple. If I can get mayo packets, I'll throw that in there so it's not so dry for people. But I'm going to just do simple sandwiches, really easy, nothing major. And then I'm going to give out a couple bottles of water with it. And on the 18th of October, it's a Sunday, I'm going to drive around and I'm going to find where homeless people are. And I'm going to just stop and give them some food. Here's a sandwich and here's 2 bottles of water. And I would rather do that than sit at home and, think about, today's a year, it's miserable. She wouldn't have wanted that, and I don't want to live my life like that, and I don't want to set that kind of example for other people. I want to show people that it's okay and that they can survive through really crappy, bad things happening like that. And I know Merce would not have wanted me to. She would want me to set a positive example. She would want me to use her memory in a positive way. So I'm going to set that example by going out and feeding the homeless. And I urge everybody out there who's listening and who hears this to do the same. It's really, look, go to Costco or BJ's, whatever most of people have a membership to or something like that. Or go to Walmart. I'm sure you could probably find some sort of a deal there. Or look, I know I'm mentioning corporate names, but whatever, you know what I mean? Maybe you have a local deli that'll give you a break. That's cool. But make 20 or 30 sandwiches. Make it really basic. Maybe do PB, J, and Y. What did I say that right? I haven't said that in so long. You know what I mean.
PB, J, and Y. I don't know what the Y is.
Y is.
Isn't that PB and J? Yes.
And Vegemite.
The Y. That would
trying to say deep.
That would be V. I'm tired. I told you. So it's PB and J. Okay. See, for some reason I added a 4th letter. What would be the Y? What could you add? Yams? No.
BYOBB.
Yeah, that would be absolutely disgusting. Anyway, make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm gonna do like turkey and cheese. I figure because some people might be allergic to peanut butter, so maybe I'll do a couple PB and J sandwiches. Ooh, I said it right that time. So maybe I'll do a couple of those, but I'm gonna do like mostly turkey and cheese, but something simple and basic. It doesn't have to be extravagant, but I'm gonna wrap them all up individually and then give out like a sandwich and 2 bottles of water, and maybe if I can get like a deal on a bag of chips or something, throw that in there. Like the little bags of chips. I got to see how much it is, but and I know it's going to cost like probably around $100, $120 to do it all, but it's worth it. And honestly, people should maybe think about doing that and putting that out into the universe. I know that might sound like a lot of money. You don't have to do that many sandwiches, but maybe just putting out 10 sandwiches out there, just doing that positive deed. Showing a little love. Imagine if everybody was doing that on that day. Imagine how much love would be injected into the universe. For real.
I think it's a great idea, man, and I think people should get involved. And say you can't afford food, or you can't afford, getting some type of food to feed these people. You can always, donate clothing and coats and all kinds of stuff.
Dude, it's getting cold.
Right.
So if you guys go through your closets, if you have old coats, talk to your friends, your neighbors, go around and do like a clothing drive. Do that.
Because it's all the same idea, you know what I mean? It's good for people that need
You're
help.
helping your fellow human being. And by the way, I know some people have said to me already, well, Popeye, feeding the homeless in some cities is illegal. I even mentioned that in my post. Yeah, well.
Do it anyway.
It's illegal.
Do it anyways.
You should be feeding a homeless person.
Don't tape it, don't put it on Facebook.
Feeding
Just do
a
it for
human
yourself.
being shouldn't be illegal. And from what I understand, it's only illegal if it's in mass groups. So if you're driving around just handing out sandwiches, walking up to random people and giving out food, I can't see how you can get arrested for that. Anything's possible in the
If you get arrested for that, film that. But don't film giving out the sandwiches.
Put that on YouTube.
Right. If you get harassed for handing out the sandwiches, then it's okay to turn the camera on. But I hate those videos where people are like, look I gave a homeless person $20. I'm such a great person. Like, I hate that.
Well, exactly. Just do it for the love. I mean, if you choose to, then whatever. I won't hate on you.
I'll hate.
That's cool. As long as they're showing the people love, I don't really care. But I understand what you mean. They should. The sole purpose should be to do it to spread love.
We can tell when you're genuine people, so be careful.
Mike's like Santa Claus. Don't get on his naughty list.
Right. Otherwise, who knows what
And even if you aren't, watch out.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kristan apparently is like Krampus.
Brian Krampus?
You don't know what Krampus is?
Whoa, what's Krampus?
Krampus is like Santa's evil henchman over in Germany, and he can't, like, if you piss him off, if you're a bad person, Krampus comes down and puts you in a burlap sack and takes you away and cooks you and eats you.
Yeah,
that freaks me out a little bit.
So you and Kristan,
I've never heard of this.
Are Santa Claus? Oh, dude, there's festivals they have here in the United States where people dress up as this thing.
Krampus Fest.
Yeah, it's like
I've never. This is ridiculous,
dude. I swear to God, you got to.
No, I don't know.
We need more useless information. I need to learn about Krampus, whatever his name is.
That's like Dead Guy Day in Colorado.
I bet you he's awesome. I'm gonna dress up my house this Christmas as Krampus.
My God.
Thanks for hanging out, Popeye. Make sure you guys go to Truth Frequency Radio. Check out all the awesome broadcasters. Popeye's on there all the time. Hang out with us on Saturday nights on Hangar 18 as well. RundownLive.com. We'll be back tomorrow, guys.
Check out FederalJack.com as well, guys. You guys have a good night. Stay classy.
Yeah, Google. It's K Krampus. So
I've heard of it.
Dude.
Isn't he all grumpy and evil looking?
Dude, he looks like a demon.
Yeah, I've heard
and
of this.
there are people that dress up as this thing, and then there's like parades.
I thought it was Krampus, but it's Krampus. You're right.
Yeah, dude, it's fucked up.
He looks like the devil, pretty much.
Yeah, like the dude. I'm telling you, the Europeans don't fuck around. Like the American version is Santa's all happy and hunky and dory, and then you have that. You're like, what the fuck?
So, that's pretty crazy.
Satan Claus.
Krampus.
There's
a Krampus movie.
Probably.
What? Doesn't.
There's an official trailer. Oh, the trailer came out a month ago. Here it is.
Oh, Krampus is a movie?
Yes, here it is. I'm gonna send it to you in the chat. Actually, I'm gonna share screens with you guys. Here, ready?